the biggest challenge for the marketing industry is the same challenge for many industries, which is there's a lot of choice in the market, and if somebody is young and talented and capable, they have a lot of choices about where they go and where they work. So the marketing industry has to do what it can to compete with all the other interesting industries, and the value of talent, good talent, goes up and up and up. But also the definition of what is good talent changes, so that it's not just obedient, hard-working people. It's people who are flexible, people who can think for themselves, people who can motivate themselves. All of those things are harder and harder to find and more valuable. So in a way, the talent game is always going to be a challenge that gets tougher, and I think it's getting tougher and tougher. Agencies are challenged because of the opportunities that I mentioned. The best combination is a plan, so that any employee feels that there is a clear plan that she or he can see ahead of them. They know what their career will give them over the next year, over the next 2 years. But people are not patient, right? They won't say, oh, I have a plan, I don't care what happens tomorrow. So they need a balance between a plan that shows where they can go and an immediate experience that makes them feel, oh yes, I'm in the right place. And that experience is to do with all the normal things: who they get to work with, whether they get a sense of satisfaction that they have achieved things, and people expect to achieve things quite quickly in their own careers, you know. Nobody wants to be an apprentice for 10 years. Everybody wants to be in a company and make progress in 6 months, 9 months, maybe 12 months. And so the immediate reward of going to work every day has to be balanced with a plan that says, no, we're thinking about your career. We will retrain you when you need retraining. We will give you new challenges when you're good at these challenges. So you'll keep moving up, and the company will support you as you grow. The company and the employee are in a relationship. And the relationship says, I give you my time, I give you my energy and my intelligence. You give me learning and development and a sense of direction. And it keeps changing over time. It can't be fixed, because nothing in the modern marketing industry is fixed. You know, a few years from now, things will be different again. And so we have to keep reviewing it and keep revising what it is we offer employees. And we have to listen very well. And sometimes there's a big gap between the experience level of senior managers who think, oh, well, when I was 22, I did this and I did that. Yes, but you were 22 30 years ago. It doesn't apply anymore. What applies now is very different. What applies now is immediate feedback. Ogilvy's got a reputation for being what they used to call a teaching hospital, right? By which I mean you learn how to do the job better because you're surrounded by more expert people, more experienced people, but you're working on real assignments, you're working on real things, you're not just studying theory, right? That reputation is still true, but I have to be honest, today's world, people don't have the patience to wait for the next training program and the next training program. So we also have to invest in people getting experience early and perhaps occasionally making mistakes, right? Because as you probably know, as we all know, the quickest way to learn if something is the right way to do it is perhaps to make a mistake. If you're lucky, you make small mistakes and learn big lessons. Don't make big mistakes and learn small lessons. And so part of our investment is to give people space so that they can explore their own abilities, right? Nobody is immediately, naturally a perfect manager or a perfect team leader. You need to learn those skills, and the only way you can learn and improve is if you try and you think, oh, I was too pushy, I was too strong, or I wasn't strong enough. Next time I will be stronger. So that's a bit of an investment in people time. My advice to young creatives when they enter the industry is keep having a life outside the agency. You cannot be completely swallowed up by the agency you work for. You're going to need to pull on your life experiences, right? So we've always said to people, go and see movies, But go and have any kind of relationship. Go and have a girlfriend or a boyfriend. Go and have a fight. Go and argue with your parents. Because all of that life experience is what you're drawing on when you do creative for brands. So my first tip would be, you've got to have a life outside the agency. And you will discover everything you do outside the agency can be useful at some point. Everything you do, you've had a horrible holiday and it's a complete disaster and you were very unhappy. Of course, that's a sad thing, it's a bad thing. But that experience can be useful to you. Because if you've had that experience, you'll suddenly have a client who's talking about travel and you'll have an insight into what can go wrong. So use it, it's great. Every experience is useful material. And then the other thing, just to say two things, would be careers are long these days. Life hopefully will be nice and long, right? If people are born in the 2000s, people being born year 2000 are now 18, right? People born that age will probably live 100 years, if they're lucky. But most will probably live 100 years. So your career will probably go on until you're 80. Right? So there is time to go and get some real experience and use that in your creative work.